10 to 7, and I had not got to bed till about 3, turning on the television, and there was President Trump and Kim Jong walking up to their respective podiums. Big story, global story. Other than that, we had Aaron Banks and Andy Wigmore, who were in here last night before the DCMS committee. Very interesting. It ended quite entertainingly, with Aaron saying he'd had enough and he was off to lunch. And I'll talk a bit about those proceedings. Votes going on as we speak now in Parliament, coming towards an end. A day that the government appear to have won. And yet I think in many ways, actually the concessions, yet more concessions that have been made, seems to me perhaps the Brexiteers have lost. And we'll talk about that in great length with Theo Usherwood, LBC's political editor. But I have to get back to that conference this morning because, it seemed to me that something quite remarkable was happening. Yeah, I know there was an agreement going back nearly 15 years, but that was done at a time when North Korea was not a genuine nuclear threat. This an agreement between two men who met yesterday, just with them in the room. No officials, no one taking notes, just interpreters, and that was... Although I'm struck, Kim's English does seem to be really quite good. But, and this led to these statements this morning, and I was struck that perhaps we were watching a really quite important piece of history. Let's listen to Donald Trump telling reporters about the agreement that had been reached between the two men.
Chairman Kim has before him an opportunity like no other to be remembered as the leader who ushered in a glorious new era of security and prosperity for his people. Chairman Kim and I just signed a joint statement in which he reaffirmed his unwavering commitment to complete denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. We also agreed to vigorous negotiations to implement the agreement as soon as possible. And he wants to do that.
Well, that I thought was pretty good news. Trump also pointed out that actually previous American presidents had somewhat neglected this issue.
This should have been done years ago. They should have been resolved a long time ago. But we're resolving it now. Chairman Kim has the chance to seize an incredible future for his people. Anyone can make war, but only the most courageous can make peace.
And even suggestions that perhaps, and this does sound almost unbelievable, but maybe even Chairman Kim could finish up visiting the Oval Office.
We invite Chairman Kim to the White House. Absolutely.
Will you be meeting again, sir? What did you see each other again?
We'll meet again. We'll meet many times. Thank you very much.
Well, we're going to meet many times, and it was tough to really hear that, wasn't it, with all those camera shutters going off. But yes, he's going to be invited to the White House. Look, I think this is a very good, exciting development. Of course, I am an outspoken Donald Trump supporter. Many times over the last couple of years, I felt pretty much on my own in this country, being in that position. But I don't know. I'm going to ask you tonight, even if you're not a fan of Donald Trump, would you admit to me that this agreement that has been signed today between Trump and Kim is actually a great achievement? And if you're going to say to me, do you know what, Nigel? I've changed my mind, or I don't like him, but this is good news for the world, then call me on 0345 6060 973, or maybe you think, whoa, hang on a second, it's a little bit early yet, it's just a piece of paper that's been signed, we've kind of seen these promises before from North Korea that didn't get fulfilled, then text to 84850, or maybe like me, you think actually Trump on the world stage is becoming a bit of a hero. He's making things happen, he's reshaping the world. In which case, tweet using the hashtag Farage and LBC at LBC, and of course, watch us on Facebook and comment there too. And you do comment on Facebook. In fact, the truth of it is, it's often so vigorous that I can't actually read it out. So please do try and keep it clean. Peter in West Hampstead is my first caller. Good evening, Peter.
Hello, Nigel. There's a big problem here, and that is the Americans admit that they don't know how much fissile material Kim has got.
Yep.
They've mentioned 6 to 8 bombs worth. But is that a Hiroshima bomb, or is that a bomb the size of what the Americans and Russians were letting off in the 50s and 60s, 2010 megaton bombs? He could very easily declare 6 to 8 Hiroshima-type bombs and hold back enough fissile material for the same again, and we would never know.
Well, Peter, of course, that's true, and we don't remember ourselves, but we know of the 1930s, where the Germans were continually lying about their air capability, particularly. So, yeah, there is a chance that a deal is done and that they cheat. Pompeo, Secretary of State, was very, very strong on this. He said part of the agreement would be, a very, very vigorous inspections mechanism. Does that sort of maybe reassure you ever so slightly?
But he's been drilling holes in mountains. Somebody out there said that they heard explosions on a continuing basis right through a fortnight visit. He's got such an underground network of tunnels. He is more so than...
Peter, can I just take you back one step?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, OK, you're talking about the technical details here, and you're absolutely right to raise that. But isn't there a bigger picture here? Isn't the bigger picture today that Donald Trump, through his own extraordinary form of diplomacy, which includes calling Chairman Kim fat, and includes calling him Little Rocket Man, and includes saying that, they could be met with fire and fury and force like the world has never seen, despite Trump's completely unusual method of international diplomacy, couldn't you just concede that actually what Trump did today was really quite a great achievement?
It was. We can't say that it wasn't. I mean, he has played brinkmanship. He's played a hand of poker quite carefully. I think Kim has as well. But I don't think we should... And what I'm hoping he'll do is to create such prosperity for the people of Northern Korea that Kim won't actually wish to go back.
Yeah.
If we can reduce in him the feeling of insecurity that makes him feel he's got to have H-bombs or A-bombs, then he won't want to go back. He'll say it's a mugscape.
Yeah, and wasn't it interesting to see Kim, at night, the evening before, walking around, the nightlife of Singapore, being filmed doing that, and knowing that would be shown back in North Korea. Maybe he's realised that a very poor North Korea is one that ultimately might bring him down, and that a slightly richer one could be good news.
Yeah, I agree, and we actually saw him grinning. I don't think the world has ever seen him grin before. We didn't
actually, he grinned more than Trump, didn't he?
Yes, I mean, Trump looked a bit stiff for most of the time, but I think Kim did do quite a lot of grinning. He was brought up in Switzerland, wasn't he? And a bit of an avid video games player.
Yeah, that's I'm afraid that applies to a lot of people these days, Peter. Yeah. But no, and actually he can speak quite passable English. It was a finishing school, I think, in Switzerland that he went to. So he's clearly quite a well-educated guy. But Peter... One other quick question for you. I'd be interested to get your take on this. I think if that had been President Obama today that had walked up to that podium with Chairman Kim next to him and announced this agreement that was to be signed, I think they'd be talking about Obama in the UK media tonight as if it was the second coming of our Lord. And yet I see cynical front pages of the Evening Standard. At last, Trump has found a leader he can get on with. I see journalists saying, all he's done is give a platform to a terrible tyrant who's got over 100,000 people in prison. Is Trump being given the credit that he deserves?
No, I think you have to give credit to Trump, but he has produced a deal that is not going to be readily verifiable. That's the snag.
No, OK. No, Peter, that point I take very firmly on board, and that is something that matters. Thank you very much indeed. Hi, Nigel, I'm Solomon from Jerusalem. The snowflakes will never, ever give Donald Trump any credit at all. Their excuse now is that Donald Trump has given the stage to a brutal dictator, which Mr. Kim does not deserve. Yep, that is, Solomon, one of the arguments we're getting. Donald Trump has done what he set out to do and what other presidents could only dream of. He is a great man, in my eyes, says Rob on Twitter. Linda is calling from Liverpool. Good evening, Linda.
Oh, good evening, Nigel. How are you?
I have to say, I'm very depressed about the Brexit process in the House of Commons today. We'll come to that before too long. But I actually, there in my dressing gown with a cup of tea at 10 to 7 this morning, felt really...
I heard all that, Nigel.
I felt excited about it. I felt really excited about it. How did you feel about it?
Excited about the photo opportunity for Trump and Kim Jong-un, you mean?
No, I mean, what I mean, Linda, is excited about the prospect the world might just be becoming a slightly safer place.
That's ridiculous.
Oh, and why is that?
That's absolutely ridiculous.
So, OK, so Linda, if complete denuclearisation...
If you let me get a word in, Nigel.
Go on. Why is it ridiculous?
I do find you quite entertaining. In fact, I think you should be on the stage.
I often am, Linda.
And you often are, yeah.
I often am. In fact, you missed me. I was up in your part of the world 2 weeks ago, and I'm sorry you couldn't get a ticket. Linda, why is it ridiculous to say the world today...
Ridiculous. You're saying the only president that has managed to do this.
Yeah.
He's the only president that has taken the choice to do this. Kim Jong-un and his predecessors, you know, the ones he killed off also that don't happen to agree with him. All the presidents have had a choice to meet him. They've all refused. Now, I don't believe it's because of nuclear power. Nuclear power, they're nothing. They're a little country. America, Britain and France could blast them out the earth on any given day if they chose to do so. Nothing has been mentioned about the human rights of the people in North Korea. Most of them are starving. There's hundreds, if not thousands, in concentration camps getting beaten for disagreeing with him. Nothing about...
yes, Trump did mention this.
No,
Linda, did you watch the press conference? Did you watch Trump's press conference? Where he did talk about human rights. He did talk about those prisoners. He did say that when it came to the total lifting of sanctions, we still had a long way to go. But Linda, just quickly, can I ask you one quick question? If the aim of this agreement, which is, Linda, I'm asking you, if you don't want to play, that's fine, we can move on to somebody else. But I want to ask you this question. Do you think that if the aim of this agreement, namely the complete denuclearisation of the entire Korean peninsula, was achieved over the next few years, that the world would be a slightly safer place?
No, I don't.
Thank you very much indeed, Linda. You're listening to The Nigel Farage Show exclusively on LBC. I did try. It's 7:16.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast every weekday morning from 7, only on LBC.
Theresa May said that unwittingly her actions possibly added to the feeling that people in power didn't care about the plight of Grenfell victims and Grenfell survivors. Nick Hurd, Minister for Grenfell Victims.
She feels very deeply about this. She knows that this is a disaster that shouldn't have happened. The immediate response to the disaster was not good enough, and she pushes us very hard to lead this recovery process in the right way and to put the victims of the disaster at the heart of it.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast.
With The Times. Be not just informed, but well informed.
Your data matters to the NHS. Information about your health and care helps us improve your individual care, plan your local services, and research new treatments. The strict rules about how this data can and cannot be used have been strengthened. We're committed to keeping your information safe and being clear about how it is used. You can choose whether your confidential patient information is used for research and planning. To find out more, search Your NHS Data Matters. This has been brought to you in association with the Information Commissioner's Office.
Right now, you can drive off with Aviva car insurance rated 5-star by de facto from just £176 a year. And should you need us, our claims line is open 24/7. Get a quote today direct from aviva.co.uk.
10% of customers paid £176 or less for our standard cover, November 2017 to January 2018. Priced individually.
Have you been diagnosed with COPD or emphysema? If so, then Medinova Research is currently enrolling patients to trial the effectiveness of new medications in helping to reduce the symptoms of COPD or emphysema. In addition to study-related care, qualified volunteers will be reimbursed for their time and receive reasonable travel expenses. If you'd like to take part, simply text the word COPD to 85199. That's COPD to 85199.
It's in my hair, my eyebrows, it's even up my nose. They make painting look easy on the telly, but let me tell you, it's not. The wall looks like it's been finger painted by a giant child. Who's going to rescue this? Oh, relax. It's Trust a Trader. Actual professionals who know what they're doing and don't leave the place looking like, well, my face. Now I can concentrate on the important stuff. Whispering peach or dirty mayonnaise. Visit trustatrader.com.
Trustatrader.com. And we're back! Nick, you put in a solid performance last match, now you've gone and done it again! What's the secret?
The game was at a critical point and I was trying to get a drink at the bar without missing a second. I'd seen so many people use Visa contactless. I thought I'd give it a try, so I leaned over the crowd, gave it the old one tap.
Fantastic! You've joined the millions of people paying with Visa contactless every day. You want to enjoy every FIFA World Cup moment? We make sure you never miss a second. Pay the fast and easy way with Visa contactless. Bank terms and conditions apply.
Love your skin. Love your hair. Love your nails. Perfectil delivers nutritional support from within, including zinc, to help you maintain normal skin, hair and nails. Perfectil, the science of beauty, from Vitabiotics, the UK's #1 vitamin company. From Boots, pharmacies and Vitabiotics.com.
Exciting line-up here from the little team. Budweiser, 4 cans, $3.99. Snacktastic tortilla chips, 69p. And Gallero Premium Lager, 4 cans, $2.79. The first half looks like a mouth-watering prospect. Little, big on quality, little on price. Subject to availability, selected stores. Prices in Scotland and NI may vary.
The Nigel Farage Show on LBC.
I know, I'm in a minority, I'm a Trump supporter. I have been for the last 2 years. But even if you're not, do you think perhaps today is the day to say, job well done? Because, you know, this agreement is a commitment to the total denuclearisation of the entire Korean peninsula. Yeah, sure, there are all sorts of technical problems that need to be answered. There are human rights issues in North Korea that need to be sorted out before many of those sanctions are lifted. I know all of that. I'm not pretending for a minute any of this is going to be easy, but I have to say, when I watched television this morning, I thought, wow, this is really good stuff. It's a good story for all of us. Now, some are able to bring themselves to say it, but many aren't. What is surprising is 2 very active American tweeters, one called Barack Obama and the other called Hillary Clinton. Guess what they've said about the signing of this agreement this morning? Absolutely nothing. And I think that shows small-mindedness and mean-spiritedness. Isn't this one of those moments to put aside normal left-right division and say, well done, not just to President Trump, but to Chairman Kim as well? I think it is. I really do. Nigel, America has done the right thing today, meeting the North Koreans halfway to start things off. Past leaders have had double standards, says Stephen from Merseyside. Well, Linda from Merseyside before the break wouldn't give Trump credit for anything. Thought the whole thing was meaningless. What does Adam in Manchester think? Good evening, Adam.
Good evening, Nigel. I was just saying to you, I'm a lefty. I'm myself, hopefully not a snowflake.
Right.
Now, I'm no, being a lefty, I'm no fan of Trump. I actually detest the man, in fact. But I do think what he's done today is a good first step, and I think you do have to give credit where credit is due. I'm a bit sort of cautiously optimistic with the whole thing, given the history that North Korea has had with, committing to, or supposedly committing to, denuclearization on several occasions. I think, especially quite a lot over the last 10 years or so, and they have extended invitations to previous presidents. But maybe this is a change of tack. It may be quite a good thing in the long run. I think it's maybe a little bit too early to give him loads and loads of praise, but he certainly, I certainly think he's worth the credit of accepting this invitation to have this sort of one-to-one dialogue, and hopefully open up these channels between the two nations so that we can commit to a fully denuclearized Korean peninsula, a large step towards world peace, and hopefully, and then from there, work with the North Koreans to sort out their human rights issues, because obviously, it's been mentioned already in your program. They have terrific human rights abuses.
Oh, absolutely. But Adam, can I say, just hats off to you that you detest the man, but you're able to praise what he's done today, which shows you're capable of critical thinking. And part of the problem in all politics at the moment is people seem to hate other people who have different points of view, and that's not grown-up democracy, is it?
No, not at all. I think that you have to. I like to try and take a mind point, a view of you have to be as objective as you possibly can in any sort of these scenarios. And as much as maybe I don't want to admit it, I think he has done a very good thing today. I think you have to give him credit. But I think in terms of maybe he might have to wait a little bit longer than what I said to Kim Jong-un in terms of immediate wins in back, because I think my main point of that is because he used the phrase war games. We're going to see these war games in the Korean Peninsula, which I think the North Korean media can take as saying, "Oh, see, look, the Americans were practicing to invade us, but now our glorious leader has."
Yeah, I know. Well, I tell you what, Adam, if both leaders can go home showing it as a victory, that's just fine by me, frankly. Whatever appalling things Kim has done, if he gets some kudos out of this, if this thing actually starts to move, it's going to be great. Adam, you're a star, and Adam from Manchester, a much bigger human being than Barack Obama or Hillary Clinton. Mark on Facebook says Trump is doing much more than any other president has done. And do these idiots still say he should not have a UK visit? Mark, I suspect some of them do. But Adam from Manchester, a self-declared lefty, as he said at the start of the phone call, he's able to bring it within himself to say well done. Mark, I think Trump now should get the Nobel Peace Prize, and I will get a petition together of MEPs and put one forward from the European Parliament. I'm sure other people will do too. He has done far more than Barack Obama ever did for world peace. Obama got the Nobel Peace Prize for what the committee thought he might do as president, rather than what he actually did. Dave from Somerset's really sceptical. Please remind me what Donald Trump has done for the UK lately. You say we should like him so much. Why? Gauntlet thrown, says Dave in Somerset. I'll tell you what, Dave in Somerset, Donald Trump has done nothing for the UK. He can't. We're part of the European Union. We don't have our own foreign policy. We don't have our own trade policy. Juncker and Merkel tell us what to do, and Mrs May nods and goes along with it. We're not able to do anything. There will be a big test, though, Dave. When, on the 11th and 12th of July, Trump is in Brussels at the NATO summit saying, look, you guys, we are quite happy. We're very happy, as America, to stand by you, to be your defenders against aggression, but you've got to start paying the mandatory membership fee of 2%. That's the moment, Dave, at which Mrs May has a chance, because she's independent on that. That's the moment she's got a chance to form an alliance with the president. I hope she grabs it with both hands, although I doubt she'll even see it. Neil is calling from Stanmore. Good evening, Neil.
Hello, Nigel.
Hi. So what?
You're not the only one. I think he's doing some good things as well. So we're on track with that one. Interesting enough, the last comment about what's America done for us.
Yeah.
We haven't actually done very much for America.
No. Well, apart from criticise him.
We haven't supported them in a couple of very key votes that they've put forward at the United Nations.
Yep.
And we've rather opposed them on a couple of things. But my thoughts are, I'm very impressed. It's a good start and something to be, get on with. But he's done something very similar with Iran. And we have all the Western and European leaders saying, oh, what a terrible thing, you're completely wrong, you've got it all wrong. And actually I'm sitting here thinking, I don't think he has. He recognises, he's incorporated all the bad points. He's ironed out all the bad points that were in the Iran deal and made sure they're incorporated within what is agreed with the Koreans. And actually, the Iranians are far worse with their intentions and willingness to probably use the bomb.
I have to say, Neil, that on the Iran deal, I'm 100% behind President Trump, and I think that the EU and us being part of it have got this completely wrong. Why we would want to try to effectively appease this radical Islamist regime that wants to spread its poison throughout the region, that backs groups like Hezbollah and Hamas, is absolutely and completely and utterly beyond me. And it is, and I do believe, Neil, that it is the policy of appeasement. And I think what you have to do with bullies is stand up strong to them. And it wasn't just the words Trump used. What he really managed to do was to persuade the Chinese to make sure the sanctions really bit. And I think a lot of North Korea is starving, and that, above all, is what has got them to this negotiating table. Neil, I thank you for your call. Peter is calling from Wimbledon. Good evening, Peter.
Good evening, Nigel. It's kind of funny hearing you saying about double standards and standing up to bullies. And I can't see any reason for celebration where you have a pathological liar and narcissistic psychopath meeting the most evil man since Stalin and Hitler, and embracing him.
And Peter, in your
view,
which way round is that? I'd be fascinated to hear.
Well, which way round what?
Well, you just applied 2 huge terms of abuse. I mean, which is the worst in your view, Trump or Kim?
Well, Trump is the worst because he's the leader of the free world. Because he is the leader of the free world. He represents the countries where millions of people gave their lives for us to enjoy peace and prosperity and democracy we have now. And now we are embracing the most evil person since Hitler and Stalin on this planet Earth, who still runs concentration camps. And Mr. Trump calls him very talented and clever man. And some naive people call us to the station, somehow think that the light of a night sky in Singapore is going to change Kim Jong-un and make him an open and kind of man who will suddenly stop murdering people and shut down their concentration camps.
I mean, Peter, he's done this deal. Now, there are 2 other choices. One, of course, is to do what previous American presidents did, which is pretty much nothing, and allow him to build and build and build his ballistic and nuclear capability to the extent, of course, that those missiles were flying over Japanese airspace a couple of times in the last year. So why not, or perhaps, Peter, should America just bomb them? I mean, is that perhaps the idea?
No, it's a political theatre taking place at the moment, Nigel. You know it quite well.
What would you do, Peter? What would you do?
Well, what happened here is North Korea will only do what Russia and China tells them to do. And it's not credit to Mr. Trump. It's a deal between Russia and Mr. Trump. Recently, Mr. Trump, at G7 summit, he called for Russia to be readmitted to G8. The country and leader of which country ordered the killing of British people on the British soil using nuclear and chemical weapons. And you talking here on the station about standing up to the bullies. So you standing up to those bullies are convenient to you, like Iran, but other bullies like Putin and Kim Jong-un, we have to embrace them. Is that right? Is there
well, I think,
on your behalf?
Peter, Russia aside, for now, I think anything that can be done to make the world a safer place is the right thing to do. I think bravo, President Trump, for doing what he's doing. I tell you what, he's achieving a lot more than Theresa May, and we'll talk about Brexit in a moment. But for now, you're listening to The Nigel Farage Show, exclusive in LBC, and it's now 7:30, and time for the news with Philip Chrysikos.
MPs have rejected a House of Lords amendment which would have stopped the UK leaving the European Union without a deal from Brussels. The dismissal of the so-called meaningful vote came on the first of 2 days of debate and votes in the Commons after Theresa May gave concessions to rebel Conservatives. The Foreign Secretary says the summit agreement between Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un is an important step towards stability, but Boris Johnson says much work needs to be done and he wants to see any denuclearisation verified. An accountant responsible for auditing British home stores in the year before its controversial sale for £1 will reportedly be fined £325,000. It's understood an investigation by the watchdog the Financial Reporting Council will also see the former PwC partner banned from the profession for 15 years. LBC weather, dry this evening and overnight, a low of 10 degrees. Tomorrow, sunny for England and Wales, wet and windy over Scotland and Northern Ireland, a high of 22 degrees.
LBC Travel. Roadworks causing problems in a few places. The A20 Sidcup bypass is queuing into town between Frognall Corner and Five Ways in New Eltham, and the North Circular Road is struggling westbound between the 4th Street Tunnel in Edmonton and the Clockhouse Interchange. Waltham Abbey and the A112 Sewardstone Road is queuing at Hawes Lane, with delays on Boardman Avenue as well. On the trains, the Overground has severe delays between Stratford and Richmond and Clapham Junction following a trespasser. LBC Travel, I'm Charlotte Downs.
This is LBC.
Exciting lineup here from the little team. Budweiser, 4 cans, $3.99. Snacktastic tortilla chips, 69p. And Gallero Premium Lager, 4 cans, $2.79. The first half looks like a mouth-watering prospect. Little, big on quality, little on price. Subject to availability. Selected stores. Prices in Scotland and NI may vary.
Right now, you can drive off with Aviva car insurance rated 5-star by de facto from just £176 a year. And should you need us, our claims line is open 24/7. Get a quote today direct from aviva.co.uk.
10% of customers paid £176 or less for our standard cover. November 2017 to January 2018. Priced individually.
Morning, Joe.
Morning, Mo.
Was your house built slap bang in the middle of Mo Farah's daily running route? No? Great! Then why not use Yopa to sell your home? You get your own dedicated local estate agent who'll sell your home in no time at all. See what I did there, Mo?
Yeah, good one.
You're most welcome. That's not as good. Book a free home valuation at yopa.co.uk. Yopa. Seriously, why not? Terms apply.
That's a Swale heating engineer setting off to help another customer. We have over 250 highly qualified engineers on hand 24 hours a day, 365 days a year to deal with your boiler installations and emergency breakdowns. Visit swaleheating.com. Rely on us to keep you warm.
You're the last-minute babysitter who never wants paying. The voice of reason in the middle of a tantrum. The kind nurse, the wise teacher, and their fun-loving friend. So, happy birthday to the best grandma ever.
Zing Flowers. Beautiful hand-tied bouquets delivered the very same day when ordered before 12 noon. Visit zingflowers.com.
Zing Flowers. Amazing every time.
It's in my hair, my eyebrows, it's even up my nose. They make painting look easy on the telly, but let me tell you, it's not. The wall looks like it's been finger painted by a giant child. Who's going to rescue this? Oh, relax. It's Trust a Trader. Actual professionals who know what they're doing and don't leave the place looking like, well, my face. Now I can concentrate on the important stuff. Whispering peach or dirty mayonnaise. Visit trustatrader.com.
TrustATrader.com. Leading Britain's conversation. The Nigel Farage Show. Tweet at LBC using the hashtag Farage on LBC.
Even if you dislike Donald Trump, are you so tribal in your politics that you're not prepared today to at least give him some praise for the agreement that was signed, aiming towards the complete denuclearisation of the entire Korean Peninsula? That's the question that we're debating. But it's been a busy day in Westminster. 3 hours of interviews between Leave.eu's Aaron Banks and Andy Wigmore and the DCMS committee, and I'll come to that later. But more importantly, later in the day, all those House of Lords defeats that the government suffered back in the House of Commons, and some results that I don't think when we first see them necessarily give us the true answer. Theo Usherwood, LBC's political editor, is joining me now. So, Theo, it looks like the government are winning because they're defeating the House of Lords amendments.
It does look, initially at first blush, like that is the case. But I think underneath the headlines that you can see from the numbers coming out of the House of Commons, it has been a bad day for the government. A good day for Remain MPs, whether they be Labour or Conservative. Let me just take you back to last night, to the 1922 committee. Theresa May went before Conservative MPs and gave them their assurances that the Brexit was going to happen. She just needed party unity in order to make sure that there were no bumps along the road, that this bill passed through unscathed. The big vote today was on what has become known as the meaningful vote, to give MPs the right, in effect, to veto the final deal from Brussels. Because, of course, what was being proposed by the government was, yes, MPs can have a vote, but if they reject it, then we revert to a no-deal Brexit. Who was most likely to reject the deal? Remain MPs. They said, basically, in effect, they were having a gun held to their head. If they reject it, then, of course, they would have the worst possible outcome from their point of view, Britain crashing out of the European Union. So what happened is the government said the Lords tabled an amendment which made that an impossibility by giving MPs the right to approve it. The government rejected that out of hand. Dominic Grieve then came up with a compromise and said, well, hang on a moment, why don't the government accept that if they don't get it, if they don't have a final deal agreed by the end of November, then what will happen is that if they don't have it agreed by the end of November, the MPs will have the right to approve a final deal. And if they don't have a final deal by the middle of February, 6 weeks out from Britain leaving the European Union, then MPs get the right to take control of the reins when it comes to Brexit. At the beginning of the day, that was rejected by the government. I received a text message from Downing Street. It's not going to happen. We've already got our amendment, which was very lukewarm about coming back with another proposal.
Then there was a resignation, wasn't there?
And then, Nigel, there was the resignation of Dr. Philip Lee, the Justice Minister. And that changed the arithmetic. It changed the mood within the parliamentary party, the Conservative Party, amongst the Remainers. And suddenly it looked as if they could get a victory and they could ally themselves with Labour MPs and defeat the government on the Grieve Amendment. We then had this extraordinary exchange between Robert Buckland, the Solicitor General, and Dominic Grieve, where Dominic Grieve said, I'm sticking to my guns, I'm going to force this amendment to a vote. Robert Buckland stands up and says, please don't, because we promised to have a conversation about it. Dominic Grieve stands back up and says, basically not good enough. Robert Buckland then stands back up and says, no, it's going to be a structured conversation. We're going to do a deal. They then all, the Remain MPs, leave the House of Commons and go into the Prime Minister's office in the House of Commons to receive assurances that she was going to agree to the November part, i.e. that if there isn't an agreement, a final deal by the end of November, then MPs will have the right to approve a deal. She hasn't agreed to point C, the final point, which is basically MPs taking control by mid-February. But what this means, Nigel, and you know, it sounds complicated, but it's important. The complexities of this are really important, because you know as well as anybody from the time that you spent in Brussels, what this means is that Jean-Claude Juncker, Donald Tusk, they're going to be looking at this, and they're going to be...
For them, it's perfect. I mean, I reckon Juncker will be opening the third bottle by now.
They'll be drumming their fingers on the table, and they think we need to get past the November deadline, because then MPs take control. If they take control with the right to approve a deal, what do they prefer? European Economic Area.
So if this carries on course, they could stop us leaving the European Union.
Well,
they could.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'd stay in the European Economic Area plus, a version of that, Norway plus.
One thing that fascinates me is there are people in the Conservative Party, some in cabinet, some in ministerial, some in backbench positions, who I campaigned with during the Brexit referendum and who feel, maybe not quite as strongly as me, but feel strongly about this issue. And when we saw quite a big surrender back in December, the so-called backstop option, which has left her now in a very difficult position with Northern Ireland, I was amazed that I was saying here and writing that it was a complete sellout, and all the sceptics said, no, it's absolutely fine. It's fine, Nigel, it's fine, and now they realise it's not. What are the sceptics going to do now? I mean, do we ever reach a point where they get rid of this leader?
Two quick points on that. The first is there's a fracture down the middle of the Conservative Party Eurosceptics, and that is between the Leavers who remain committed to the Prime Minister, who believe that if this is forced to a vote, then in effect you'd end up with Jeremy Corbyn as Prime Minister, and they're not willing to see that happen. And then you have the hardcore, hard line, I think that would be a better way of putting it, Brexiteers, the Jacob Rees-Moggs of this world, who may not be willing to go over the top, but they're very unhappy about it, hence why government sources this evening trying to dampen down the fact that there have been any concessions. There have been concessions. If there haven't been concessions, we'll find out soon enough anyway. We'll find out next week, because of course it goes back to the House of Lords.
And was David Davis involved in this? That we don't know.
Well, he was involved in the conversations on the front benches. He was there on the front bench with Julian Smith and Robert Buckland this afternoon.
But he wasn't in that meeting with the Prime Minister.
From what I understand, that was the Prime Minister who came back with it. But he also threatened to resign and then didn't resign. You end up in a situation... They end up in a situation is, are they willing to topple the Prime Minister and the threat that then, from their point of view, is posed by Jeremy Corbyn, or do they just suck it up? And I think something else that we'll see emerge, and this may be I may be ahead of the curve on this, but this is something I do think we'll see emerge in the next few days and weeks, is that the line is that actually what we need to do, this negotiation from a Brexiteer point of view has reached the end of its course. It can't go any further. Theresa May has been boxed in. Isn't it best to get out of the Treaty of Rome, take Britain out of the Treaty of Rome, and then start the negotiation again once we have left? Theresa May is no longer Prime Minister, and then whoever takes over from Theresa May, of course, is not necessarily, given the dynamics of Conservative politics, is not going to be able to stand by her negotiation, and then a new fresh blood come in and have another go at negotiating Britain a better deal outside of the European Union once we've already left.
Well, and more votes coming up tomorrow. The Customs Union vote tomorrow.
I think that one should go through for the government fairly straightforward.
Theo, thank you. And if you're confused out there, well, don't worry. There are millions of people in the country looking at these arcane procedures taking place in Parliament, and a lot of them saying, we voted Brexit, why don't you just get on with it? Let's go back to Donald Trump. Can you, if you don't like him, if you despise his politics, can you spring it within yourself today to say, well done? Chris in Colchester is my next caller.
Hiya.
Hello there.
As bizarre as this sounds, actually, I think one person who should win a Nobel Peace Prize is Dennis Rodman. He's actually done a lot to get Trump and Kim together, as he's a good friend of both of them. And Kim's obsessed by basketball, so they're good friends.
Yeah.
I think he knows Trump from the Celebrity Apprentice, so he deserves some credit for this. But the thing that really annoys me is the way that liberals or so-called liberals don't give credit to Trump for doing this just because they hate him so much and they can't admit that someone's done something good when they do it. I think this also happened with Obama with the Iran deal. I know you're against it, but I think it was good for peace, and it was probably the only decent thing he did, even though he forced sanctions against Iran as a senator.
Well, Chris, the Iran deal was an attempt to do something. The belief was, by opening up Iran, that actually they would become content and would stop their attempt to spread their poisonous message throughout the region. Actually, they became, with the money they got freed, they became even more active. So you can do things that don't quite work out and have to change them. But Chris, isn't Obama a diminished figure if today he can't praise the president?
Well, yeah, I think anyone is. But can I just say about Iran? Iran and Hezbollah have been fighting against Al-Qaeda and ISIS in Syria, whereas some of our alleged allies have been supporting them. So, it's more complicated than it would seem. But I think can't everyone just give credit and try, because Trump's got neocons by his side that want him to fail. He's got liberals that want him to fail.
Yeah.
So surely we've all got to try and support him, because do we want peace or do we not?
Chris, well said. Thank you. On Twitter, I get, well done to Trump and Kim. I'm even more pleased about the ending of the military exercises and the bringing of the troops home. These are all promises and agreement. It hasn't happened yet, folks. And Andy on Facebook says, in World War II, Japan had concentration camps, hit Pearl Harbor, and took over a massive part of Asia-Pacific. Today, they are USA allies. Times change. And today is the start, hopefully, of another new change. Well, hear to that. You're listening to the Nigel Farage Show, exclusive on LBC, and it's now 7:45.
Coming up at 8 on LBC, Clive Bull.
The government has survived a defeat in the Commons, but made some big concessions. Do you think MPs should have a say on Brexit negotiations?
Clive Bull on LBC.
You've worked hard, your company has flourished, and you're deservedly reaping the fruits of your labour. However, you're now ready to retire and call it a day. But how do you ensure an orderly exit to realise maximum value from your business? At Barnes Rofe, our specialists have been busy helping clients with bespoke succession planning and business exit strategies. Call us today to help plan for your retirement. Barnes Rofe. Clever accountants for mature businesses.
Exciting lineup here from the little team. Budweiser, 4 cans, $3.99. Snacktastic tortilla chips, 69p. And Gallero Premium Lager, 4 cans, $2.79. The first half looks like a mouth-watering prospect. Little, big on quality, little on price. Subject to availability. Selected stores. Prices in Scotland and NI may vary.
Visit swaleheating.com and put your boiler in safe hands with Swale Heating's highly qualified engineers. Rely on us to keep you warm.
The last thing you need in London is more stuff. The London Storage Vaults are in an underground vault near Oxford Circus. It's self-storage that's convenient, climate-controlled and completely safe. Ideal for everything from sports equipment, stock, furniture or artwork, with free collection from Zones 1 and 2. There's 24/7 access and prices start from just £10 a week.
London Storage Vaults, the future of self-storage. Visit londonstoragevaults.com. Terms and conditions apply.
Is your MOT or service due? At QuickFit, we've got over 500 centres across the UK that can do both, and most of them are open 7 days a week. Plus, with our special offers, there's always a great deal to be had. So head down to your local QuickFit today or book online and drive away happy.
Clive, Winston Wolfe. Whale music? You must be one stressed-out private landlord.
Yes, I am!
Your tenants are struggling financially and can't pay their rent. But you're with Direct Line. They'll repay any unpaid rent until your tenants are out. So drop the stress ball. It'll all be over soon. Ah, that's better.
Claim back unpaid rent after 1 month's arrears with rent guarantee. Can your insurance do that? Search Direct Line Landlord. Cover purchased as part of legal expenses add-on. Qualifying criteria apply. Restricted claims for existing tenants in the first 90 days when product first purchased.
Your data matters to the NHS. Information about your health and care helps us improve your individual care, plan your local services, and research new treatments. The strict rules about how this data can and cannot be used have been strengthened. We're committed to keeping your information safe and being clear about how it is used. You can choose whether your confidential patient information is used for research and planning. To find out more, search Your NHS Data Matters. This has been brought to you in association with the Information Commissioner's Office.
The Nigel Farage Show on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
By text I get, isn't Trump now a terrorist sympathiser? No, he's not a terrorist sympathiser, but he's trying to do a deal with North Korea that might just make the world a bit of a safer place. Gosh, he can't really win, can he, with some of you? Now, before I get back to that, so today, Aaron Banks and Andy Wigmore, the bosses of Leave.eu, an organisation that I worked and campaigned with, were there before the DCMS committee. You'd seen the hysteria over the weekend about their Russian involvement. Actually, do you know what? We dealt with most of those questions last night here on this show, and they gave their answers. What I was struck by today with this committee was how Banks, clever businessman that he is, just ran rings around them when it came to questions of money and the way business in the real world operates. But what really got me today, and by the way, I don't think anyone in future is going to accuse them of Russian collusion. I think it's finished. But what really got me was just how low grade many of these MPs were. Their questions were dull, their questions were repetitive of each other. I thought, goodness me, this lot really are low grade. And you know something? Every single one of them in that room had voted Remain, and yet nearly every single one of them represented a constituency that had voted Leave. I thought, this is ludicrous. In fact, they were no wonder they don't want Brexit. I mean, with Brexit, they'd be in control. And they probably realise, most of them, they're frankly not up to it. It was not a great display. Doesn't make me want to rush out and vote for one of the so-called mainstream parties. I just felt myself, we need a higher calibre of person in politics, and I feel the parties are always playing safe. They're always scared of people who've got their own views, who've got their own minds, who might be rebels, but goodness me, I'm sure we can do better than that committee. That's my feeling. No doubt some will disagree with that strongly and say they were great giants today. Wasn't what I saw. Anthony from Watford. Anthony, does Trump deserve some praise today?
Nigel, yes, he has done a very good job today.
Okay.
The other point I'd like to say, I've listened to the world news all day today,
yep,
and a little bit concerned that Chairman Kim had gone to China twice before this meeting, was flown in by Air China.
Mm-hmm.
Don't become President China's puppet. And then the other thing is, two young world leaders are trying to change the world. Saudi Arabian Prince and Chairman Kim. Nigel, stand back. Let the second referendum happen and let the youth of this country decide. Our children, your children, our grandchildren. I've had my life. I won't be around.
So is somebody aged 46, is their vote not worth as much as somebody aged 16?
Their life will not be affected. Our children's children will be affected by what you've created in this country.
Well, hopefully, Anthony. Hopefully, Anthony will be independent and free, although with this Prime Minister, I'm not sure. Anthony, thank you for your call, and Anthony giving praise to Donald Trump. Russell says, if Trump and Kim can bring peace to that region and the US removes all its troops, boats, planes from South Korea, even better. I will eat my negative words about Trump and Kim. Well, OK, there's quite a few of you saying that. The Liberals seem to expect that North Korea should suddenly turn into a liberal democracy overnight and release all the prisoners. It is going to take time. That was Ian's point to me on Twitter. Kate is calling from Kingston. Good evening, Kate.
Oh, good evening, Nigel. You'll have to excuse me for being a bit squeaky. I'm just recovering from a lost voice.
Oh, poor you.
That doesn't affect my very strong opinions.
Now, Kate, let me tell you, let me ask you, I'm sorry, where do you know, what's your view of Trump been since he became the president?
As a person, I do not like him. Mm-hmm. I would not want to have him at a dinner party, for example.
Okay.
However, I understand totally why, in the environment that they had, the American voters voted for him. I think, had I been an American at that time, I would have voted for him. Not so much as a yay to him, but as a protest against the alternatives.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he has done absolutely the right thing in North Korea. Sorry to talk a cliche, but keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer.
Yeah.
I accept the fact that Kim Jong-un, and to be honest, mainly his predecessors, he hasn't really had much of a chance yet to show what he's going to do. But I appreciate that the human rights record is appalling. But what I would say to all the naysayers is that if you don't have a dialogue, you cannot change anything. And what Trump has achieved is to open a dialogue, and we don't know which way that dialogue is going to go, but it could very well lead to a happy relationship between North and South Korea and in an improved economy in North Korea, and through that improved economy, improved human rights.
Well, let's hope so, Kate. There was a very, very funny photograph doing the rounds earlier of Chairman Kim smiling and saying, now we can all have McDonald's. And I suppose in a way, it's a difficult one for Kim, isn't it? Because if they become too Western, can he maintain his grip on power? And that's got to be his big calculation, hasn't it?
Yes, but if he makes them all richer, if he creates a stronger economy,
yes,
they are going to love him.
Yeah, of course they are. Kate, no, thank you very much indeed for your call. Great call. And Kate doesn't like Trump personally, but thinks he's done a good job today. Stephen Croydon says, I get so tired of all the Trump haters. They can't even acknowledge that he's trying to do something useful. If he ended world poverty or found a cure for cancer, these bitter people would still hate him. Steve, I think you are right. Joseph is calling from Swindon. Good evening, Joseph.
Good evening, Nigel.
So, what do you think?
Nigel, oh my goodness. What Trump has done today is good. It's good for the world. World peace is always good. I'm not a big Trump supporter. I'm not a big supporter of you, Nigel. But there's a little bit of gloating here, Nigel. That's only a pin in a haystack, what Trump has done today.
Well, it's a bit bigger than that, Joseph, surely.
It's a pin in the haystack. Good. You sign an argument. We're going to decide on something. It's not happened yet. We're going to try to work on something, which is good. It's a start. But I hope he continues, and I hope he liberate the Cubans as well. The Cubans have done a lot. Castro or whatever Cuban regime have done a lot less than what Kim Jong-un had promised.
Yes, and Joseph, as you're broadening this debate, what would you say to the idea that was being floated in America today that maybe the next big summit Trump will attend is a summit with Putin? Do you think that would be a good idea?
With Putin? Oh, that would be a good idea. I'm not for isolation. I look at the West, and the West still have I like the way sometimes, I don't like Trump's style, but sometimes I like the way he put out the West, because the West is a bit hypocrite. What Trump has done today is to show the West that that's the way we do things. We just try to do it behind closed doors and say we go wrong and settle. But he has a more direct approach. But it's the same thing the West has been doing for years.
Yeah.
Being hypocrite about who they deal with. That's the West. But Trump is a bit more direct, and the West don't deal with that. They like to do it behind closed doors. Like you just said about your what's your colleagues, because you're not in Parliament. Those guys in Parliament who want to grill somebody for doing something they think that is not right.
The select committees and all of that. Yeah. No, Joseph, I think actually his directness, his unconventionality is actually what got these talks to happen today. Joseph, I thank you very much indeed for your call. And Joseph, another one. Doesn't like me, doesn't like Trump, but he's prepared to say today the guy's done something. He thinks there's a needle in a haystack, but hey, it's a start. I get on Twitter from Tom. Barack Obama had the opportunity to show the world his true values for world peace, and he failed miserably at that. As to Hillary Clinton, she's irrelevant, and let's not even bother talking about her. OK, Tom, well, I have to say, I think it is pretty mean-spirited that both of them have failed to respond in any way on Twitter at all. I've quickly got time to get a view from Barbara from Chichester. Good evening, Barbara.
Oh, good evening, Nigel. I'd just like to say congratulations to Donald. I have no illusions about anybody, in fact, but no illusions about Donald in any way. I think he's a very straightforward person. You get what he is, and that's, to me, non-hypocritical, and he's managed to do something good.
Yeah, I think he has. So why is it, Barbara, that if you look across all the media in the UK today, yes, it's a story, yes, it's a big story, but wouldn't it have been a lot bigger if Barack Obama had done this?
Well, I'm really shocked because of the bias, and I just can't. I'm sometimes lost for words at the bias. And what you said about the MPs, I've been ranting and raving about the calibre of MPs these days, and I'm saying to my husband, how do these people get voted in? That's beyond me. So thank you for saying that.
No, well, do you know, Barbara, one of them said to Aaron Banks, do you realise I've been elected 5 times? This was saying I've got some huge personal authority. If you stand in a safe seat, for the Labour or Tory party, it's got nothing to do with you, and yet they think it has. Barbara, I thank you for your call. I thank all of you for your calls. And some of you now grudgingly saying Trump had a good day. For me, it's not about Trump having a good day or Kim having a good day. I think the world had a pretty good day today, globally, although what's happening in Westminster is deeply, deeply depressing and miserable for a leaver like me. You've been listening to the Nigel Farage Show here on LBC. I'm back tomorrow night at 7. At 10 tonight it's Ian Collins, but up next, it's Clive Bull.
Nigel, thank you. Yes, we'll have more on both of those big stories from today. We'll come back to